Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining me this morning. Today's sequence is focused on your core, but today we are looking at the really deep core muscles. And this sequence is going to be particularly beneficial to women, especially if you've gone through pregnancy, if you've ever struggled with stomach bulging, pelvic floor issues, anything like that. This is a great way to strengthen that area, strengthen those lower abs, and strengthen those muscles. So let's get started. This is a mat sequence. So just get somewhere comfortable, and we're going to start on our backs on our mat. Take a moment to roll your shoulders back. You can bend your knees in, bringing your heels underneath your knees. Open your palms to the sky. Take a deep inhale here. And exhale. Just grounding down for a moment. Noticing what you're feeling today and how you're showing up. And then shifting your focus to your middle area here, to your pelvic area. And for right now, I want you to kind of pay attention to where your lower back is. So you can kind of see there's space between my lower back and the mat. If I'm just going to lay here, that's what happens. But if I tilt my pelvis a little bit, that lower back kind of flattens right to the mat and there's no more space there. Take a moment and try to find that connection so that your lower back is flat on the mat. And notice when you do that, maybe you feel a little bit of a tightening in this area. Maybe not, it's okay. But if you can feel that, that's great. And then I'm going to bring my arms wide so that you can really see this area, but you can leave yours lying on the floor. I'm going to ask you to imagine that you have a marble sitting right in your navel and it's balancing there. And we're going to envision this marble kind of hanging out right in our belly button space. And we don't want it to roll off either side of our stomach. So with that in mind, take a deep inhale through your nose and exhale. Now on your exhale, feel the contraction, the natural contraction happening in your core. That is core engagement. That's what we want to go for. So take a deep inhale again. And on the exhale, feel the core tightening. And maybe at the same time, lift up on your pelvic floor. So there's a pulling back that's happening at the navel, and there's a lifting that's happening at the pelvic floor. One more time, inhale. And then exhale. Find that engagement. Engage your core, engage your pelvic floor. Lower back is to the mat. You have that marble nice and centered in your navel. Well, now we're going to press into the feet, and we're going to imagine that we're rolling the marble up to our sternum. But we're not popping it off, right? We're not going into a full bridge pose. We're just bringing our hips up so that we're making a nice straight line here and continuing to hold the core and pelvic floor. Take a breath here. Trying to keep that engagement. And if you've lost it on the exhale, try to find it one more time. And then lower down. So this engagement that we find here, that connection between the core and the pelvic floor is really important. If you're just starting out, you might want to focus on tilting the pelvis, working on that core engagement and staying right here, just lifting up, holding it for maybe a count of 1, 2, 3, and then lowering down. And that's a great place to start. You can also follow along with me as I show you a few more ways to expand this. Engage the core, engage the pelvic floor, lift up in the hips, hold here for a moment. Hold. And then we're going to lower our hips, but we're not going to let them touch the ground. So we're going to lower them so that there's a little bit of space here, and then lift again. And lower, and then lift again. Keep that engagement happening. Lower, and then lift again. Keep going here. Keep re-engaging, and if you lose that core connection, you can start over, start at the beginning, and that's perfectly fine. Let's do this 3 more times. And lower down. Beautiful. The next thing, again, roll your shoulders underneath you and come up to your heels. Lift your heels up, come up to your tippy toes. Flatten your lower back. Stay right here, and you're just going to lift your right knee up and in, and then let it tap down, and lift your left knee up and in, and let it tap down. And just switch sides, moving from one side to the next. And you can keep going this way. If you're not feeling anything and you need to feel a little bit more, you can work on switching your legs midair. Keep that core connection. Moving slowly with control. Maybe you even want to float that bottom leg so that you're not even touching down. You're just floating it here. One more. And release down. Beautiful. Next thing, keep your heels lifted, tippy toes up. You're going to lift both knees in and lower both knees down. Now, if that's too much, just go back to one foot and then the other. Okay? You're lifting and lowering. Keep the core engaged. You don't want to push out. So something that happens when people are trying to reestablish their core or strengthen their core is they go right to these like sit-ups and crunches and all of these really fitness-based moves. And unfortunately, what can happen is that those moves can actually make some of the stuff that's happening in your core worse. So they can make the bulging worse because you're pushing out and you don't have the core strength to pull in, right? So it's not what you want at all. One more and release. Now, as you build up, a more advanced version of this is to extend one leg out and bend one knee in. You can keep that leg on the mat or maybe even float it an inch or two. I'm going to keep mine on the mat. And then you're going to switch. And you're moving with control here really slowly. So you're really working those muscles as you lower them down. Keep the core engagement. And this is not something you want to push. So if ever it feels like, oof, I don't know, come back to toe taps, okay? 3, 2, and last one. Beautiful. Pull your knees in. Just kind of hug your knees. You can rock side to side a little bit. Feels good. And then when you're ready, you can come to tabletop position. Maybe you want to take a rock and roll. Also good on the core. And turn around this way. So in tabletop position, bring your wrists underneath your shoulders, your knees directly underneath your hips. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale, find that core engagement. Adjust your pelvic tilt however you need it. Lift up on the pelvic floor, pull back on the core. Hold here for a moment, and then release. Again, take a deep breath in. Exhale, find that core engagement. Beautiful. Now we're going to start by just extending our right leg back. Keep your hands planted. Keep the core engaged, lifting up on the pelvic floor. And then maybe lift that back leg up. Holding it here. Breathing for 3, 2, and 1. Release your right leg down and then extend your left leg back. Toes can touch for now. And then lift. Float that left leg back. Hold it here. Keep thinking about that core and pelvic floor. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Moving a little bit further into this, extend the right leg, float the right leg up, and then maybe walk your left hand out. Maybe you want to keep spider fingers on the ground and just see how that feels. Remember, you want to be able to keep the core engagement and the pelvic floor engagement the entire time. So if walking your hands out makes you feel too unstable, just bring it back and ground it down. If you're here and you're okay, you can stay here or maybe even float that left arm up, really feeling it in the core. But work up to this. Remember, there's no goals. This isn't the end goal. There are places that we can all be depending on what we're feeling today. Bring it down. Step your left leg back this time. Hips in line. Core and pelvic floor engaged. Float the left leg. See how that feels. And then maybe walk your fingertips out, keeping spider fingers. Maybe even floating that right arm up. Whether you're here, 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 or here, it doesn't matter. You're working up to this. What's going to help you more is not to reach for the furthest thing today, but to show up every day and start with small, consistent steps. You're going to get better results that way. Bring it down and release. Let's take a few cat-cows here since we're here. Inhale, drop the belly down, look up. Exhale, tuck and round the chin. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, round. And just one more time. Beautiful. Walk your hands back. Come to a seated position. This time, bend your knees out in front of you, feet flat on the mat. And we're going to hook our hands right behind our thighs. So we're holding on here to help support. Again, you want to use this until you are able to start to strengthen that inner core. And from here, we're just going to kind of lean back, engage the core and pelvic floor, and rise up. So if you need to find that engagement sitting first, let's do that. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Engage the core. Really lift up on the pelvic floor, and then lean back. Hold it here, using your arms as much as you need to. And then rise up. And then again, find the engagement, lean back, As you start to work on this, the more you work on this, you can maybe start to loosen your grip a little bit, holding for a count of 3 each time. And rise up and then lean back. Maybe even one day reaching your arms out, palms facing each other, and releasing the grip completely. And good. For our last drill, come down to your elbows. Find the core engagement. And then lift up on your heels like we did on our backs. This time, we're going to lift our right knee and left knee, lifting our shoulders up with our shoulders lifted like this. Okay? So you can go through that same sequence here, maybe switching in the air, maybe one leg's extended, whatever works for you. And release. As you begin to really work through this, you can roll your shoulders up, arms facing each other, and do the same thing. If that's too much, though, always come back to the forearms or lie all the way down, whatever works for you. Let's finish up strong. And good, release, pull your knees in, rock side to side, and then plant them on the mat. Let's just take a bridge pose to stretch, lift up, forget about the marble. You're gonna pop it off doing this, lift your hips up to the sky, and then lower down. Beautiful. So this is a great beginner sequence. And actually, even if you're experienced, even if you've been practicing forever, these moves will really help to strengthen those deep, deep core muscles. So if you have been practicing for yoga and there's some moves that you feel like, you can't find that deep core strength, this is really going to help as well. All right, everyone, have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you soon.